Hello, and today we are going to be, um, am I? Yes, my I am live. We'll make it to primary state, which is Iowa. So Evans gets 12, and Brian can probably gets like 4, probably gets 6, maybe. Ted Cruz gets 3, Tom Messi gets 2. Actually, Evans gets a little more. Just give them a little more. And J.D. Vance wins the first primary state, while for Democrats, is anyone watching? Yeah, someone's watching. Okay, so for Iowa Democrats, I think Buttigieg gets the rest. Um, so that's so far what's gonna happen. Iowa's the first primary state, so or caucus, and then you have New Hampshire. J.D. Vance will win most of them stay in the race, but J.D. Vance is gonna probably win. Okay. And then you have Democrats, which should be a little harder because there's a lot of candidates. Pete Buttigieg probably gets like an 8. Kamala Harris 5. D.B. Pritzker 3. Gavin Newsom 6. Andy Bashir 1. Um, let's lower Pete Buttigieg a little bit. Andy Bashir and JB Pritzker drop out because they know they have a path. Um, and for the Republican primary, I think they all stay in. Maybe not Brian Kemp. I'm gonna say that he stays in. Senna, winner take all for Republicans. So Jadance wins that pretty easily. And then you have Kamala Harris, who wins that state. P. Buttigieg gets absolutely killed there. Gavin Newsom does a little better. AOC gets a lot. Andy Bashir gets like 3. DB Pritzker gets 2. Well, they drop out, so. But they still are on the ballot, so. Yeah. Um, and that's South Carolina. Um, that is caucus. So there. 7 goes to JD Vance. Maybe 1 goes to Brian Kemp. Josh Hawley gets like 3. Ted Cruz 5 maybe. Thomas Massey gets 4. No, he doesn't get that much. So JD Vance is so far winning every state. You got Kamala Harris, who probably is not gonna win the state. Gavin Newsom probably wins it. Andy Beshear gets like 1. So does JB Pritzker. Like AOC gets like 8, along with Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg gets like 4. And Gavin Newsom wins the state. So yeah. Why is this right there? Anyone there? Goes there. Because I'm gonna still do so. Islands. I don't even know much about the Virgin Islands, so J.D. Vance gets like 2. Maybe Josh Hawley gets 1. Gets 1. Thomas, I think J.D. Vance gets more than that. Thomas Massey gets 1. Brian Gibbs gets 2. Yeah, that's the most sense. Makes the most sense. Because I really don't know. Virgin Islands. So the Democrats, Andy Beshear get no AOC gets like 3. Gavin Newsom gets 2, 1. Kamala Harris gets 1. Pete Buttigieg gets 1. And then you got South Carolina again. Like, Democrats and the Reds are oh, okay. We're still gonna do it, whatever, that way. Um, Idaho, JD Vance gets 12. Brian Kemp gets like 4. Josh Hawley gets like 6. Ted Cruz gets like 6 too. Thomas Massey gets 2. So far, JD Vance is dominating. He has 104 to the rest. So then you got Missouri. Oh yeah, I forgot to do um, Gavin Newsom gets like 7. AOC probably gets 4. Kamala Harris gets 8. Pete Buttigieg gets 1. Actually, Gavin Newsom gets like 6. But then you got um, Missouri. Missouri goes. Maybe Josh Hawley wins Missouri. I don't know. I'm gonna give him Missouri just because I feel bad. Um, Kim gets like 6. Ted Cruz gets 10. Thomas Massey gets like 3. So Josh Hawley wins the state, his own his own state, his home state, um, Missouri, and in Democratic primary, Kamala Harris gets like 32. Pete Buttigieg gets like 10. Andy Beshear gets like 12. No, more like 6. Gavin Newsom gets a lot. AOC gets AOC. Wait, no. Andy Bashir gets like that much. Yes. We gotta tame Kamala Harris down because I don't think she wins by that much. Um, yeah, that's more like it. Got oh, I forgot Michigan. J.D. Vance probably does really well there. I think Josh Hawley has the best chance of beating Vance out of these candidates because he's just better for the Republican base than the other candidates. They're more like moderate Republicans, and the base doesn't really like moderates. So then Democrats, AOC probably gets like a lot. Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg gets a lot too. Andy Bashir gets like 3. JB Pritzker gets 2 because they dropped out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's like what I think would happen there. And then the District of Columbia. I don't think G Vance wins District of Columbia. Like Ryan Kemp wins it. Actually, I feel like Thomas Massey would win it somehow. Um, and then you got Democrats for DC. I think Kamala Harris gets the majority. Gavin Newsom probably gets. Actually, AOC probably gets a little more than Gavin Newsom. Um, so far, this is the map for Democrats, and this is the map for Republicans. Then you got which goes pretty heavily to Vance. Ted Cruz probably gets a lot here. I don't see Brian Kemp winning all or Thomas Massey winning anything over here. So in North Dakota. So they got Democrats in North Dakota. Kamala Harris gets like 5. I feel like Andy Bashir would win this somehow. Um, Actually, Pete Buttigieg would probably win because Andy Bashir probably drops out. So Pete Buttigieg wins there. Who drops out right now? I don't know. I think Brian Kemp drops out definitely after this, and Thomas Massey's probably gonna because he he's he's pretty delusional in my opinion. So Alabama, Alabama, that's yeah, Alabama probably goes to JD Vance by a lot. Um, and then Alabama goes pretty heavily towards Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris does really well in this area of the South and the heavily black areas, I should say. Um, she's been doing really well with Alaska. Uh, Alaska goes pretty heavily to JD Vance. JD Vance gets like heavily is heavily favored to win. Um, yeah, that's pretty much Alaska for Republicans, Democrats. I think Gavin Newsom wins, maybe. I don't think Kamala Harris would win. I don't see AOC any more than Pete Buttigieg though here. Uh, and you have American Samoa, Republican JD Vance gets like dictator margins there, I guess. Um, I'm not really good at the territories and anything and everything, so forgive me. Kamala Harris gets like two, Gavin Newsom two, AOC two, Gavin Newsom. Uh, yeah, Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, and AOC and Pete Buttigieg versus each other, basically. Um, American Samoa, Arkansas. JD Vance probably wins there overwhelmingly. Actually, I don't see Josh Hawley staying in after Super Tuesday, so I do see Thomas Massey though staying. Okay, so that's it so far. California, JD Vance was pretty easily. Most of this, most of the country be blue for JD Vance. Then you got California for Democrats. It's like San Francisco. That probably wins the state. Pretty big. Actually, I forgot Pete Buttigieg has to get some delegates too. But it's Kamala Harris is in Gavin Newsom's home state, so I think they would perform the best there. Um, Gavin Newsom shortens the gap between him and Kamala Harris. Got Colorado, which pretty simple. J.D. Vance probably wins a lot by a lot here. Ted Cruz did win this in 2016. He's just not going to be as popular as he was in 2016 with the Republican base in the middle of the country. So, um, then you got Kamala Harris, who probably doesn't win this. AOC probably wins this just because she's progressive. And Colorado is a pretty progressive state, a pretty progressive state. So, see. Um, one's there. Iowa's Democrat, so Maine. Um, Republicans win there pretty easily. So does I mean JD Vance wins there easily. Um, and then you got that's who win there. AOC probably gets. Probably worse in most of his other states. I'm gonna add some more for Thomas Massie in Colorado. Um, so yeah, I never got Maine. There's probably a few Massie supporters in Maine. Um, yeah, there we go. So this is so far the map. And then you have Massachusetts for Democrats. AOC probably win here. And AOC gets a big boost. She's getting closer. She's won 3 states. Only wins there. Um, yeah, no one's watching. Doesn't matter to me. I feel like Thomas Massie would do better than Ted Cruz in Minnesota. Um, but there is no pathway for any of these Republicans, but it's Super Tuesday right now. North Carolina. Wait, no, it doesn't. What state was it? Minnesota for Democrats. Um, Gavin Newsom gets AOC gets like 12, 14 because of the Minneapolis. Kamala Harris gets 8. Big beats them all. And wins in Minnesota. And then you have North Carolina, which JD Vance is probably going to win pretty easily. So far, this map is looking very good for JD Vance. He's most likely to win. AOC gets like 25 because of like Charlotte and the aggressive areas. I mean, Raleigh and Durham. Um, but Kamala Harris wins. Um, yeah. And then you have Oklahoma, which I feel like Josh Hawley will get more than Ted Cruz. Thomas Massie gets like 2. Actually, Kamala Harris probably wins, actually. And then you've got Tennessee. Start with the Republicans, actually. Um, Brian Kemp gets like no. Brian Kemp dropped out, so Vance gets like 43. Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz. Um, you see JD Vance is building a pretty big lead. Kamala Harris by a big margin. I don't think Pete Buttigieg gets that much actually. Um, and then you see Texas. JD Vance is probably gonna get like Ted Cruz's. This is probably be Ted Cruz's best state um, for him. Not percentage wise, but delegate wise. Um, because Ted Cruz did not get that much in California. So, and then you have Utah. Like I forgot to do Democrats. Texas. It's 36. He gets like 70. Kamala Harris gets like 82. Pete Buttigieg gets a little bit. Then you got Vermont, which I think Thomas Massie wins. Oh wait, I forgot. There's more delegates. So 8. And then you've got Democrats Vermont. Um, AOC probably wins here by a lot. Um, and then you've got people drop out. So Josh Hawley drops out, Ted Cruz drops out. So it's just JD Vance and Thomas Massie. But Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz endorsed JD Vance. Brian Kemp endorsed Josh Hawley, but Josh Hawley endorsed JD Vance, so it doesn't really do anything. Um, then you got Pete Buttigieg drops out and endorses Gavin Newsom, and then that's it. I forgot Andy Beshear and JB Pritzker endorsed Kamala Harris. And then you got Hawaii, so it's just JD Vance versus Thomas Massie. And then you got in I think AOC gets like 55, Gavin Newsom gets 6, Kamala Harris gets 8. Actually, AOC probably gets a little more. And so does Gavin Newsom. So, and then got oh wait, we already did that. Democrats abroad. That's only Democrats. So, um, I think Gavin Newsom gets 3. I think AOC actually wins this. Um, and then you've got Georgia, which we'll start with Republicans. Georgia goes probably like very heavily to Vance, except for like Atlanta, but there's not a lot of Republican voters in Atlanta, anyways. So um, Mississippi probably the state is doing really good in this primary. Georgia for Democrats, like AOC probably gets like Atlanta. Gavin Newsom gets like the rural parts. The Kamala Harris like churns out the base, like the African American base. Um, so far it's pretty mixed primary for the Democrats. North Marine, so Marianas. Um, I'm just gonna say D. Vance gets like 88% of that, and Democrats get like AOC, the territory. Um, then you got Guam, probably goes JD Vance entirely. I don't see AOC probably gets like 4. No, probably like 1. And then Gavin Newsom gets, Kamala Harris gets 3. And then you've got Arizona. JD Vance absolutely dominates here, like overwhelmingly. And then you have Democrats who think Gavin Newsom would win here. AOC probably gets like 2 songs. Kamala Harris gets. You see, Gavin Newsom's doing really well in this the Pacific Coast. That's where he's from, so makes sense. Um, Arizona, Florida, it's Republicans, so overwhelmingly wins there. I'm pretty sure Arizona is also winner takes all. So, and then you have Democrats in Florida. There's more Hispanics in Florida than there are blacks. Now that sounds racist, but I'm just saying the truth. Um, I think AOC wins here in Florida, um, just because she would probably do well in like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, the core counties around, um, the core counties for Democrats in Florida. Illinois, I'm pretty sure, is proportional for Republicans, so he gets like 55. Thomas Massey gets like 9. Um, Kamala Harris probably won Chicago, which is literally like Pritzker gets 15 because he is like the governor there. Gavin Newsom. AOC probably wins the progressive areas. Um, so she gets more than Gavin Newsom. But uh, Harris is still way ahead right now. It might change. I'm doing this off the way of my head. So Kansas, obviously, he's probably going to go Republican. Um, Most definitely is going to get not. Thomas Massie is definitely not going to get that much. AOC probably gets like 10 because of like Kansas City, and then Kamala Harris gets like 10, and then Gavin Newsom wins the rest. And Gavin Newsom is ahead of AOC right now, even though he's probably lost weight, lost more. He's has less states than she does. And Ohio, uh, JD Vance's home state probably doesn't even probably gets like one delegate that doesn't like one part of the state that doesn't like him. Um, Maybe Cleveland. Democrats, I think AOC gets like 48. Gavin Newsom gets like 38. Kamala Harris gets 41. AOC wins Ohio. She's doing pretty good in the Midwest, I would say. Um, and have Louisiana. Louisiana, JD Vance gets like 45. No, he probably doesn't even lose a district. Yeah. Connecticut. Oh wait, I forgot to do Louisiana for Democrats. For Democrats. I'm pretty sure I did. Um, like AOC gets like 4, Pete Buttigieg gets like 4 too. Kamala Harris wins a lot. Louisiana. AOC probably wins like the wider areas. Um, but Gavin Newsom does better than she does. Actually, she probably does better than Gavin Newsom. Um, so you have this blue wall that's forming in the South. The South is almost entirely Kamala Harris. You got Jance wins like 25 out of 28 delegates. And then you have Democrats. AC probably wins. Um, Kamala Harris way underperforms in Connecticut. Um, she's still ahead, but AOC has this New England in like a block. So Connecticut, I think it's winner take all. So JD Vance takes all of Delaware's delegates. AOC gets like 7. Gavin Newsom gets like 5. Kamala Harris gets 5. You see AOC starting to get this at all. So maybe Thomas Massey does well in New York City, well enough to get 2 delegates. But and then in uh, the Democratic primary, this is AOC's home state, so you would assume she would do good here. And AOC takes a big lead above Gavin Newsom. And then you have Rhode Island, which is winner take all. Pretty sure. So yeah, AOC probably wins here. I think actually loses here. Um, Gavin Newsom probably gets like 7. Kamala Harris gets the rest. Kamala Harris wins Rhode Island over much of the New England. And then you've got Wisconsin, where J.D. Vance wins overwhelmingly. It's winner take all, so I got to probably win. Gavin Newsom probably wins there. Well, might where overwhelmingly, well, Gavin Newsom it's like 4, AOC it's like 3, Kamala Harris wins Wyoming. Um, Puerto Rico, J.D. Vance wins Puerto Rico like 22-1. Um, and Democrats win. AOC probably wins here. AOC's catching up on Kamala Harris, so I'd be worried if I were Kamala Harris. Puerto Rico, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania probably. Gavin Newsom probably gets second place there. AOC wins though. And then breaking. Gavin Newsom drops out and endorses AOC. Um, now he doesn't give his delegates to her because he still thinks he's gonna win. They don't give delegates. I'm not gonna do the math behind that. So it's just whoever gets the most. Um, you've got India, which is winner take all for Republicans. So J.D. wins it all. And then you have Democrats where AOC probably gets like 30. Gavin Newsom gets like 35 because he thinks he stays on the ballot. Kamala Harris probably loses Indiana. You see this area that's forming around the New England area, Midwestern area. So I'll do Mississippi for Democrats. My bad. Well, this should be pretty easy. Kamala Harris like the majority. And then Maryland, which is when I go for Republicans. So Demons wins Maryland. And then Democrats, Kamala Harris probably wins here. Nebraska, not really a question here. Um, Thomas Massey gets like three. Um, Democrat, I think AOC probably loses here. Maybe. Actually, I think she wins because of Omaha, which is pretty progressive. And that's the main center of votes, so for Democrats at least. Um, and then you have West Virginia. JD Vance wins there, like no problem. I think AOC probably loses West Virginia, but narrowly. Well, as narrow as you can get in West Virginia. Um, then you have Kentucky, which goes pretty over. Like JD Vance might lose some because Massey is from Kentucky, but he doesn't lose that much. Uh, Andy Beshear, it's like 9, which actually hurts Kamala Harris. Um, and then you got this blue, yellow blob. Um, then you have Oregon, which JD Vance gets like 30. Portland probably gets a little more Thomas Massey than the rest of the state, so he gets like a district. But um, Kamala Harris wins Oregon, most likely. Actually, no. Kamala Harris does not win Oregon because Portland is way progressive. So, and then you have uh, Montana. Jaden's one's there. Uh, I don't think AOC wins here. This one gets like 2. And then you have New Jersey. Jaden's wins all of that. Then AOC wins it pretty easily. It is near her home state, this is going to be a very close one for Democrats. New Mexico, like 2 go to Massey. AOC wins here. Then you have South Dakota, which I forgot Washington, South Dakota. Oh wait, I didn't do Dakotas for and Utah. So Utah goes like that much. I don't think Karis wins Utah. Probably have won for JD Vance. And then you got Washington for Democrats, which has way progressive. So yeah, and then you have um Virginia, which goes UC most likely because of Nova. Which makes AOC nearly win the general, which they're super delegates too. So um, Virginia, pretty sure that's in the super primaries. So you see the sea of blue, and then there's one, two, three states that go not to JD Vance. And then um, the super delegates. So AOC probably gets the majority. Kamala Harris gets like 200, and then Gavin Newsom gets the rest. So AOC wins, and that's it for today. Um, I'm sorry if anyone